To think about how we're going to tell our story in the future. And I'd like to challenge myself and surprise myself as well as you, and to think about some things. So I'm going to do something that may surprise you. We're going to turn off the lights right now, and I want you to think for a second. I'm going to tell you a little story.
You turn off the power too?
No, just all the lights. Just make it black.
Whoa, okay.
So this is part of our story. It's our story. So I was filming these children, doing a documentary called The Other Side of War, and I was filming these children from who had been in war in Bosnia, and I asked them a question: what did they do at night, and how they lived? And they told me, they didn't have any food, and they didn't have any candles, and they didn't have anything. So they played this game with each other, and I want you to think about this. The game they played was imagining your favorite food when you're hungry. Imagining the smell, the taste of a lemon, of an orange, a real orange, or your ice cream, chocolate ice cream, something that reminds you of something that is inside of you, your mother's cooking, your favorite food. And imagine that as part of the future of how we're going to tell our story. So now I want to bring out a few people who are telling their story, who are filming it. Please bring it to life. So I've actually been filming Jeff for many years. He's recovered from that. I don't edit because there's only one of me. I've also filmed a woman named, I hadn't seen since I last filmed her until today, about 3 years ago, Jessie X. And come. And there was, I forget your name, come, yeah. He just did a film where he gave 12 kids, or 12 or 30 kids in Lebanon cameras who were living in a world. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how we're going to tell our story through the eyes of others.
Well, we give small, this is my project. It's a little project that I want to do, that I'm doing. We give cameras, like very small cameras, not very expensive cameras, of course. And so this way, kids in poor neighborhoods, and I don't want to say poor neighborhoods, but in neighborhoods that are different, and therefore they get to have cameras, take pictures, and show their lives on a daily basis, to portray their lives. How is it? How do they live? Where do they live? Do they come back home to a single mother? Do they come back home to a family? Do they come back home to food, etc.? So all these different questions that these are people who in reality sometimes are invisible to society. And this is a very important part of society in general. So, and they make up sometimes the majority of a population in developing nations. And yet they are not even talked about. So this is the reason why I wanted to show the pictures seen from a child's perspective, because a child is different than an adult. And so this is just a small project that I want to do once I'm in Beirut in a week or so.
He just told me that story 2 minutes ago. And I thought, wow, I've got 10 minutes. Now I got 5 minutes and 24 seconds. And I think that's a story. That's one way we're going to be able to tell our story. Now, I filmed Jesse Newman here, and it was an amazing moment in time. But what did you learn about yourself while watching your own, you talking about what you're passionate about? What did you learn?
Wow. So first of all, I trade as Jessie X because pretty much everyone bastardizes my last name just like Gio just did. So I'm Jessie X. That's all you need to know. You're welcome. So Gio and I met, and he put this camera on me and started asking me questions, and he fed back the video to me, and it was an exquisite experience because I got to, telling my story to someone with a microphone was very different than telling my story just to a friend. And what I got to see was, first of all, one of the things I was fascinated by was my eye movement and my body language. Like, I didn't know I didn't know what it was like for me to be me in the eyes of someone else, visually. So that was just interesting. I was like, wow, I didn't know my eyes moved so much. I didn't know I didn't know what I looked like. So that was actually really interesting to see. And the other thing I learned was that I knew a lot about the subject that he was asking me about. And that, again, I didn't know that. Like, I only experienced myself through my own lens. Like, so for someone else to capture me and feed me back to me, it was just an exquisite, I mean, I don't know what to say other than the gift of someone giving me my story back to me was very helpful for me. It actually really helped me understand myself better. And one of the things I've done inside of storytelling is actually try to tell other people how I see them. So, like, for example, these two beautiful people here who are part of DC Week, Frank and Jen, like, I wrote a little story, it's very small. Yes, okay, yeah, clap, clap, clap. You know, so one of the things I've started trying to do for myself is tell other people the story of how I see them. Like, I'll write about them and I'll write it through my lens and just say, like, you know, these people help me understand the world in such and such ways. So instead of only telling my story, I'm actually telling my story of my experience of other people. And that's something I'm committed to do with my blog and other media that I use.
Thanks. As she reminded me of something, I filmed Albert Maysles, who did Great Gardens, among other things. And it was interesting. I filmed him for 6 hours straight, and I showed him a 2-hour film of him, and he was 80 years old, and he looked at the film and said, "Boy, I didn't know how articulate I was, or how expressive I was. I don't think we know who we are sometimes. We're so involved in projecting who we want to be." And maybe that's part of the story I'm telling. You know, and Jeff tells his own story about discovering himself, his vulnerability, his loneliness, his honesty, his integrity. And I think the future of our storytelling might be using our vulnerability as our weapon, you know, and being more and more open and trusting. Because I think where we're going in terms of the media and storytelling is just this subtleness of nuance that we keep on missing, because the media has been giving us another story that's not us, it's their story. And I think we need to take back the future of our storytelling, and how we're going to do that.
All media does that, too.
You think all media?
No, I don't.
Yeah.